Hi everyone, I'm Alexandra Divine and thank you for clicking on today's video. So today I'm going to give you my top 5 tips for planning a destination wedding to Santorini or one of the other Greek islands as well, because this definitely applies to the other Greek islands. So if you're also planning a wedding on Mykonos or Corfu, Crete, Rhodes, just anywhere in Greece, or a lot of destinations around the world, this video will definitely be relevant. So I was due to get married on the 28th of June 2020 in Santorini. Like thousands, tens of thousands of brides around the world. We did have to postpone. We've postponed to summer 2021. Are we going to be able to do it this summer? Who knows at this point. We'll see over the next few months. We'll have to postpone to 2022 if not. We'll get there. So I've decided to make this video today because when we started planning our wedding, which was around the beginning of 2019, I really struggled with finding information and knowing just where to start with planning a destination wedding. So hopefully for anyone who is thinking of a Santorini wedding or a Greek wedding or just generally an abroad wedding, hopefully these top 5 tips are going to give you a really good place to start. So I'm going to do a full series on planning a Santorini wedding. So click subscribe, hit the bell, and then you'll get all the notifications for the coming videos over the next few weeks. That's going to go into much more detail on absolutely just everything that you need to know for planning a wedding in Santorini. Okay, so tip number 1 is to get yourself a wedding planner. This is going to make your life thousands of times easier. So in the UK, I'd say most brides don't really get a wedding planner when they're getting married in the UK, but this is such an essential if you're getting married abroad. You can do it without it, but you're honestly just making life a lot more difficult for yourself. To be honest with you, weddings abroad are a lot cheaper as a general rule of thumb than weddings in the UK. So a lot of people don't get a wedding planner in the UK because, you know, that's adding on extra money to a wedding that might already cost quite a lot of money already. So one thing that I found when I initially did start looking, I didn't even know that most people had a wedding planner for an abroad wedding, to be honest with you, and I tried to find everything myself and couldn't really find anything, to be honest, guys. So your wedding planner can really help you with organizing all your different vendors and getting everybody together on the day to make sure that everything works seamlessly. So of course, in Greece, they're speaking Greek. Most people in the UK, I think, don't speak Greek. So it's a lot easier if you can have a wedding planner who obviously works with UK brides all the time. They're able to translate for you. They know all of the different vendors on the island, so they can provide you with lots of different choices, all the different prices. They can bring everybody together. They obviously run the day for you as well. Okay, so my second top tip is to actually go to the island and look at venues and meet with wedding planners prior to booking anything. Now, I think this is so important because things look really different in real life than in pictures, and you just don't know how you're going to vibe with people, with a venue, until you get there. So we went to have a look at venues in May 2019, and when I went out there, like I said, I was just completely clueless about this whole kind of situation, and we arrived in Santorini, and honestly I only had one appointment booked to see one venue. I had no other venues booked, no planners booked, just nothing booked apart from seeing this one venue. And we arrived in Santorini on the first night, and I was kind of like, okay, so we're here for a week to plan this wedding, and you know what, I've got nothing planned and I don't know where to start. So I kind of was frantically Googling things. So I did manage to book in a couple of more venues, a couple of wedding planners, and luckily people were able to fit me in. So the venue that I had booked to see before we got out there was the one that, to be honest with you, I kind of only booked it because it was the one that was easiest to find on Google. They had a really good website. I'm not going to name it because of reasons that you'll know why I'm not going to name it. But I'm not going to name that venue, but it was the one that I found easiest to find. There was a lot of really clear pictures. It looked absolutely stunning in the pictures. And before we went out there, I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure that we're going to book this. And maybe that was the reason I actually didn't book any more venues or didn't book anything else, because I was kind of thinking, oh yeah, I'm just going to book this kind of thing. So yeah, so I did end up booking quite a few different venues. Now, when we went to look at the venue that I had booked previously before going out, wow, that really just made me so thankful that we had taken this holiday to go and have a look around venues, because it turned out to be our least favourite of all the venues. And this is because of like what I was saying about vibes, and it's a lot like when you go house hunting and you'll walk into a house and you just know within the first kind of couple of minutes whether you're going to live in this house or not. And I really found that to be the same when looking around venues. So with this venue that I'd booked previously before we arrived in Santorini, and I was sure that we were going to book it, we turned up and I said, hello, you know, I have this appointment, and the lady just like looked at me as if, who is this woman? What is she doing here? They obviously, even though I'd booked it and I had the email to say that I'd booked it, it obviously just wasn't booked in their system. And I actually did have to get the emails from my phone to show this lady, like, look, I am booked in to have a look around. So first impressions obviously count, and them not even having a record of my booking was kind of a bit like, okay, what's it going to be like on my wedding day kind of thing. So that was a bad first impression. So the person who obviously showed people around normally was with another couple. So this lady at reception kind of gave us like a quick whistle-stop tour of the venue, as well as that kind of first bad initial impression as well of them not having my appointment. The venue itself did look really different in real life, I thought. So one thing at this venue that you couldn't see in the pictures was between the kind of where the ceremony and the reception was and the beautiful Santorini caldera views with the sunset. Between that, there was a road. Now, it wasn't like a busy road, like 40-mile-an-hour road, cars flying by it, but it was kind of the main kind of, it's like the old route between the caldera towns in Santorini, and people are walking on it all the time. There's cars on it. There are actually houses quite close to the venue, so they obviously need to have access to this road. Now, when your ceremony is on, they do block for those 15 minutes of the ceremony. They were blocking the road, so people weren't coming past during the ceremony itself. But for the rest of the evening, while you're sitting in there eating your dinner, having your photos taken, all these things, this road was open. So there'd be people walking past. When we went to look around, there was a lot of cars parked on the road. And these are just all things that I just didn't like about this venue. It just wasn't what I expected at all from the pictures. Now, don't get me wrong, it's a beautiful venue, and I know a lot of brides who just absolutely love this venue. They don't have a bad word to say about it. They've had incredible weddings there, incredible customer experiences. But for me, it wasn't what I expected. I just didn't vibe with the people there. And I'm just so glad that we went to see it, because had we not have done that holiday, I probably would have booked that venue and then been maybe a little bit disappointed, because when we went to look at other venues that I didn't even know existed, wedding planners I just didn't know existed, when I'd found them on the island and we went to see it, like at other places, I was getting goosebumps. The planner that I ended up booking, they're absolutely incredible. Really vibed with her. She made me feel like mine was the only wedding in the whole world, as opposed to the other venue who didn't even know I was coming. So yeah, definitely top tip here is to definitely go to the island and just see for yourself all of the different options and meet different people, because it's just like anything. You're going to vibe with some people and you're not going to vibe with others. And the same with the venues. You'll go in to some venues and you'll just immediately feel like, oh, this is it, this is the one. Other venues you won't feel that way. And you cannot get that from pictures. So yeah, just go to the island. Now, a lot of people might kind of think, well, oh, I don't want to do that, because then that's kind of adding like extra cost to the cost of the wedding. But if you just kind of make it your holiday for the year, we just went there for a week, and as well as doing like wedding planning things, we also had a holiday. We hired a car, we went around the full island. It was absolutely amazing. And even though we were there for a week, I'm not less looking forward to going back. I'm not thinking, oh, I know I went there last year, so I don't want to go again. Being there actually made me even more excited to go back. So definitely, if you can, definitely go out there and go and have a look at the venues. My top tip number 3 on planning your Santorini or Greek wedding is to know all the legalities behind actually getting married there. I will do a whole separate video on the legalities behind it because there is a lot to it. But you need to know what the process is really ahead of time before your wedding, and you really need to get started with actually doing the legal side of things around 3 to 4 months before your wedding date. I see a lot of other brides getting married in Santorini who, like myself, didn't know anything about this, but it's quite close to their wedding date and they're like, oh, what's this we've got to do? And it's like, oh, okay. Because if you don't know about it and you obviously either don't do it or you leave it too late, you cannot legally get married there. There's a lot of cost involved in that as well, so that's probably something to factor into your budget, because getting things like the translations done that you'll need to do and the different paperworks that you need to do. Okay, so tip number 4 when planning your Santorini wedding is to let your guests know at least 12 months in advance, preferably 18 months in advance, that you're having an abroad wedding. Get your save the dates out well in advance, because obviously it's an abroad wedding. It's not like a UK wedding where you might be getting married on a Saturday. People just do their regular, Monday to Friday at work. They come to your wedding on a Saturday, have a Sunday to recover, and then on Monday they're back to work or whatever it is. Obviously abroad, people are going to need to take time off work, and potentially, depending on their situation, they may need to save up for it as well. So the more notice that you can give them, the better it is just for everybody. One question that brides ask a lot is, do I have to pay for my guests' flight and hotel? Because obviously you've asked them to go abroad, and a lot of people think, well, oh, I've asked them to come abroad and maybe I should pay for them. Most people don't pay for their guests' flight and accommodation. If you are super rich and you want to do that, then of course you can do that. You can do absolutely anything you want. It's your wedding. But generally, people do not pay for their guests. So that's why it is good to give them that time to save up for it. So kind of linked in with this tip, I'm going to call this kind of tip 4B. And that if you are worried about asking friends and family to kind of pay to come out there for your wedding, one thing that you can also do is to have your hen party and stag party on the island as well. That's what I'm personally choosing to do, and I actually really like the idea of this, and that helps keep costs down for guests, because rather than having a separate hen party in the UK, and I mean hen parties that I've been on in recent years, where you kind of do like a 2-night stay somewhere in the UK, by the time you have the accommodation and the transport, all the different activities, food, everything, you can pay I've personally paid for ones that I've been on like £300 plus for this kind of weekend of a hen and a stag party. So if you can kind of eradicate that cost and have your hen party there while they're already on the island, they've already got their plane ticket there, they've got their accommodation, things like activities like the beach is free. So, and then obviously going on a night out and things. So that's one thing to consider. Okay, so tip number 5 for planning your Santorini wedding is, this might seem a bit random, but when you're planning everything, really seriously consider artificial flowers rather than real flowers. Now, I know that sounds really random. When obviously I was planning my wedding, and obviously I think the general theme of this video is I was clueless in the run-up. So when I was planning my wedding, I just always assumed, of course, that on your wedding you have real flowers. Of course, that's a given, right? I would see pictures, all these beautiful pictures of gazebos dressed in flowers, centerpieces with flowers, beautiful bouquets, everything. And the flowers looked amazing, and didn't once ever think that these flowers were artificial. My mum suggested to me, when we were actually still over there on the island, because my parents came out with us as well to look at venues, and my mum said to me, oh, have you considered artificial flowers? And now, I'm not proud of how I reacted to that question, but I'm not too proud to admit when I was wrong. I kind of like looked at her and I was like, yeah. Not knowing that most brides in Santorini and in Greece generally do have artificial flowers. Didn't know. Now, there's various different reasons for this. One is the heat. So most weddings are taking place between May and September. There's a few in April and October as well, but even then it's still warm. But May to September is the main wedding season and it is hot. So the flowers wilt very, very, very quickly. Hadn't even considered that one bit before obviously starting this wedding. Another thing is obviously flowers generally are expensive for weddings wherever you are. But real flowers in Santorini are even more expensive because none of these flowers grow on the island. It's way too hot. So they have, if you do want real flowers, and you can get real flowers if you want them, but they have to import them. So not only is it the kind of the cost of wedding flowers, there's then like the import cost of these flowers as well. So it costs an absolute bomb to have these real flowers, and then they don't last very long because of the heat. So this is why most people go for the artificial flowers, because obviously they're gonna look kind of pristine for the full day. You don't have to worry about them wilting. And then the bonus is that they are cheaper as well. Now, there are some companies on the island that hire the flowers. So you can just hire the garlands, hire the centerpieces. Or what I'm personally doing is I'm taking my own flowers over there. Now, it's a lot cheaper to do that, to be honest. And then the beauty of that is you can sell them afterwards as well, rather than just hiring them. And hiring them on the island is actually more expensive, believe it or not, than it is to buy them here and take them with you. And then you can sell them. So it's you know, what I'm going to do with my bridal bouquet is I'm actually going to keep my bridal bouquet as well. And that's another good thing with artificial flowers, is that you've kind of got the bouquet to keep. So I'll keep it as a centerpiece in my house somewhere, rather than it just kind of obviously dying and then it goes in the bin and then that's the end of it. That brings us to the end of today's video and my top 5 tips on planning your Santorini wedding. I really hope that was informative for you guys. If you do have any more questions though, please pop them in the comments below and I will do my best to answer those for you. Like I said though, I will do a little mini series on planning a Santorini wedding. We'll go into a lot more detail with all like the legalities of it, all the different venues, different areas of the island, planners, just absolutely everything we'll cover. So please do hit the subscribe and the bell to get the notifications, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thanks guys.